All right, dude, buckle up, because this story is straight from the depths of your worst nightmares. I'm telling you, once you hear this, you're never going to look at antiques or old junk the same way again. And I swear, this isn't one of those heard it from a guy who knows a guy's stories. This happened. So there's this guy, Chris. Normal guy, works a 9 to 5, likes old school stuff, you know, the kind of guy who finds joy in the little things like flipping through vinyl records or discovering a rare comic book. He's got this thing for thrifting, says it's about finding history, but honestly, I think he just likes the creepy vibes of old, abandoned stuff. He's always on the lookout for something unique, something with a story behind it. You know the type, right? The kind of person who sees potential in what others might call junk. One weekend he's out hitting up yard sales and he comes across this house that looks like it should have been condemned years ago. It's the kind of place that makes you wonder about its past, about the lives that once filled its rooms. Paint peeling off, windows all cloudy, the works. It's like a scene straight out of a horror movie. The lady running the sale was weird. I don't know how else to put it. She had this unsettling aura about her, pale, sunken eyes like she hadn't slept in weeks. Her gaze was intense, almost as if she could see right through you. When Chris walks up to her little table of junk, she doesn't say a word, just stares at him. It's like she's waiting for him to make the first move, to see if he's worthy of whatever secrets her items hold. Chris, being the curious guy he is, starts picking up items, examining them closely. Each piece seems to have its own story, its own mystery. And Chris, well, he's hooked. He ends up buying a few things, not because he needs them, but because he's drawn to their history, their mystery. As he walks away, he can't shake the feeling that he's just stepped into something much bigger than a simple yard sale. And that's Chris for you. Always searching, always curious, always finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. And then he sees it, this wooden box, about the size of a shoebox, but way heavier than it should have been. It looked like it had been through a lot, maybe even a fire. The weight of it was surprising, almost as if it was filled with something dense and mysterious. The wood looked scorched in places, and there were these weird carvings all over it, symbols he didn't recognize. They seemed ancient, almost like they were from a different time or place, something out of a forgotten history. He picks it up, and I swear the lady's face just drains of what little colour she had left. It was as if she knew something terrible about the box, something she couldn't or wouldn't say out loud. She says, "You don't want that." Her voice was shaky, almost pleading, like she was trying to protect him from something she had experienced herself. Now, you'd think that would be enough of a red flag, right? Any sensible person would have walked away, but not Chris. But Chris, being Chris, decides that's exactly what he wants. He's always been drawn to the unusual, the unexplained. It's like he can't help himself. He asks her how much, and she hesitates, like she's trying to decide whether to sell it or just chuck it into a bonfire. Her eyes dart around as if she's looking for an escape. Finally she says, $5. Take it and leave. So he does. He hands her the money, and she almost throws the box at him, eager to be rid of it. Now, here's where it gets messed up. The moment he steps out of the shop, the air feels different, heavier, like the box is affecting the very atmosphere around him. Chris gets home, and the first thing he notices is that the box feels wrong. It's not just the weight. It's like it's vibrating slightly, almost imperceptibly. Like it's cold to the touch, even though it's a hot summer day. The contrast is jarring, making him feel uneasy, and it smells faintly of burnt wood and something else, something metallic, like blood. The scent is subtle but unmistakable, sending a chill down his spine. He tries to open it, but the lock won't budge. No big deal, right? He's dealt with old locks before, but this one feels different, almost like it's resisting him. He figures he'll just break it open later. He's determined to find out what's inside, no matter what it takes. Little does he know this box is about to change everything. As he stares at the box, he can't shake the feeling that it's staring back at him, almost as if it's alive. The carvings seem to shift in the dim light, creating an illusion of movement. He decides to do some research, hoping to find out more about the symbols. Hours pass as he scours old books and the internet, but he finds nothing concrete. The symbols remain a mystery. That night he starts to feel uneasy, like he's being watched. Shadows seem to move on their own, and he hears faint whispers that he can't quite make out. He goes to bed, but sleep doesn't come easy. His dreams are filled with dark, stormy nights and shadowy figures, all centered around the box. It's like it's invading his mind. He wakes up in a cold sweat, the box glowing faintly in the corner of the room. It's as if it's calling to him, urging him to open it. And that's when he realizes this is just the beginning, That night, he starts hearing noises. It's faint at first, like whispers. He thinks it's just his neighbors or maybe the wind. But as the night goes on, the whispers get louder, and they're coming from inside the box. The next day, he decides to take a closer look. He notices there's a tiny inscription on the side, carved so faintly he almost missed it. It's not in English, or any language he recognizes. He takes a picture and runs it through an online translator, and the best match it gives him is Latin. You want to know what it said? Do not release what sleeps within, but Chris, he's not about to let some cryptic warning stop him. He grabs a screwdriver and pries the lock off. And when he finally opens the box, all he finds is this old tattered doll. It's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. Matted hair, cracked porcelain face, and eyes that seem to follow you wherever you go. He thinks it's a joke, like maybe the lady at the yard sale was just messing with him. So he puts the doll on a shelf and forgets about it. But the whispers don't stop. They seem to echo through the walls, growing louder and more insistent with each passing night. In fact, they get worse. The whispers become a cacophony of voices, each one more sinister than the last, filling the room with an eerie, almost tangible presence. Every night, around 3 a.m., Chris wakes up to the sound of footsteps. They start softly, almost like a distant echo, but soon they grow louder, as if someone or something is walking through his home. At first he thinks it's just his imagination, until he starts finding muddy footprints on his floor. Human footprints, small, like a child's. They lead from the front door, through the hallway, and stop right beside his bed. And the doll, it moves, not just a little bit, but in ways that defy explanation, not like falling off the shelf or anything logical. I'm talking full-on relocation. He'll place it on the shelf before bed, and in the morning, it's somewhere else entirely. He'll leave it on the shelf, and in the morning it's sitting on the couch. Sometimes it's in the kitchen or even in the bathroom, as if it's exploring the house on its own. One time, he woke up to find it standing on his nightstand, its cracked face inches from his. Its glassy eyes seemed to follow him, and its expression, once neutral, now seemed almost malevolent. That's when he starts losing it. The constant fear, the sleepless nights, the feeling of being watched, it all begins to take a toll on his sanity. He tries to get rid of the doll, throws it in the trash, drives it out to the middle of nowhere and chucks it into a lake. But every time it comes back, no matter what he does, it always finds its way back to him. Sitting on his shelf, staring at him with those dead, glassy eyes. It's as if the doll is mocking him, reminding him that he can never escape its haunting presence. The whispers, the footsteps, the doll, they all seem to be part of a sinister game, one that Chris is trapped in with no way out. And then the nightmares start. In every dream, he's back at that yard sale, but the lady's not there. Instead, it's just him and the box. And the box is open, and inside, something's moving, crawling, whispering his name. One night he wakes up and hears a voice, not a whisper this time, but a low, guttural growl. It's coming from the living room. He grabs a flashlight and creeps out of his bedroom, and there it is, the doll. It's standing in the middle of the room, and its face isn't the same. The cracks are gone, and its eyes are no longer glassy. They're alive, bloodshot and twitching, and its mouth, it's smiling, but not a cute doll smile. It's wide, unnatural, like someone's taken a knife and carved it open. Then it speaks. "You shouldn't have opened it." Chris doesn't remember what happened next. He says he blacked out, but when he came to, the doll was gone. Just gone. He thought maybe it was over, but the scratches on his arms and the bruises on his neck told a different story. The box? It's still there, locked again somehow. He's too scared to open it, but he can't get rid of it either. He tried moving to a new apartment, but the box followed him. No matter where he goes, it's always there, sitting in the corner, waiting. And the whispers, they've started saying his name.